Don't be alarmed. I'm not quite myself right now. I know. But I'm your best friend now, right?
Everyone knows the Kinect is where video games go to die, but buried inside the graveyard of Zumba workouts and gimmicky party games is one of the most violent horror games I have ever played. It's amazingly intelligent as well, but perhaps most surprising, it's actually good. I'm talking about Rise of Nightmares, a 2011 Xbox 360 Kinect exclusive horror game developed by Sega. Rise of Nightmares is not just the platform's only true horror game, it's also the only M for Mature rated game released for the Kinect, and boy am I glad this project was somehow greenlit. I think we may even need to revise the definition of madness to include guy who decided the family-friendly Kinectimals platform needed a brutal first-person horror game based on Gothic literature. Let's take one step back though. I actually don't want to waste too much breath marveling at the game's mere existence or laughing at the Kinect. That's kind of the only talking point anyone ever uses about Rise of Nightmares. Someone on the staff here cooked. This game is a love letter to Gothic horror and classical Western literature. From Edgar Allan Poe to Frankenstein, and there's elements of Emily Bronte and Charles Dickens and Dracula in here too, Rise of Nightmares has a stunning amount of class and literary heritage. For a game where you waggle your arms in front of a camera in your living room to chop up stacked zombie nurses smuggling watermelons, a lot of care went into gradually building up a tense atmosphere, slowly revealing the true horrors of the situation the player has found themselves in, and carefully structuring the twist-filled, perspective-shifting story in a way that connects with itself and makes sense. Except for a couple of tiny plot holes, but we'll cover those. I cannot wait to tell you about this perversely amazing horror game, so that's enough intro yapping. But if you find yourself enjoying the content, please consider subscribing to the channel in order to help me produce more videos like this one for you. And probably toggle on the bell too, because subscribing has mostly become symbolic without that in the year of our Lord 2026. Now let's begin. We're firing up a new game on humane difficulty. As much as I'd like to stick to the plot, the connectiness of this game is not something we can fully ignore, and these controls are not good enough to enjoy the game on anything higher than easy difficulty.
Where the hell am I?
We wake up as a German man in a jail cell and touch a sleeping French woman to wake her up too. Just gonna guess the game is set in Europe. Sorry for touching. We can extend our hand forward like Chris Pratt holding back velociraptors to put the game in interaction mode, then hover our hand over this iron pipe to pick it up. Then we can just walk over and smash the chain to get us out of our cell.
This place! Let's just get out of here!
Yeah, but what if there's loot?
Merde! It's locked! Oh, why are we stuck in a place like this?
We'll cover walking later, because there's unfortunately way too much for me to say about the most basic of human motions. For now, know that in most sections of the game, you can raise your right fist high in the air in a show of allyship to have the game automatically walk you toward your next objective. And sometimes it's smart about stuff like bringing you to a locked door first so that you see, oh, this is locked, before it walks you to the lever you need to pull to open it. It's surprisingly well implemented. There's some tutorial combat, but we'll cover that more in depth later too. For now, enjoy me dispatching a few early zombies by rapidly swinging my arm at my Kinect. You can kick to create space and raise both arms to block attacks. And while you have your hands raised, the camera snaps you to lock on to the nearest foe so you're not getting randomly turned around during combat. After that small melee, catch up to our petite ami and pull a lever to open the next gate. But wait, doesn't escaping feel too easy?
Wait, this is too easy.
Credit to the French, and to this game's writing in general, these characters are genre aware. Nothing breaks my immersion faster than when the characters in a horror movie come from a universe where horror movies don't exist. But hold that thought. A terrifying ogre zombie catches up to us from behind, so French Girl proceeds to run right into a locked door in a dead end where the floor is coated with suspiciously fresh bloodstains.
I told you it was a trap! Ah! The walls are closing in on us!
I don't want to die like this! Somebody! Anybody!
Help us! Someone help us! No!
Okay, what a way to begin your video game. Okay, Rise of Nightmares, more tutorial sections in games should end with the tutorial characters getting absolutely recycled. A moment later, we rise to a new nightmare, our waspy wife nagging for us to take our headphones off. She wants to talk about something, but don't worry, it's good news.
I want to talk to you about something. Don't worry. It's good news. Josh? You're hiding booze in your jacket? I take my eyes off of you for... When I asked you to cut back on the drinking, I didn't mean you should start hiding it. Look, I hate sounding like a nagging wife, but I've been putting up with this for 5 years. When do you grow up?
Yeah, Josh, my re-election campaign for city comptroller is coming up, and I need you sober for our photo op at the Memorial Day parade.
I want to make this work, Josh, but I can't with you at the bottom of a bottle.
It's not like you to say sorry.
Kate, hold on. God, I'm an idiot.
Okay, actually, hold on to the fact that Josh is a drinker. Walking mechanics on the Kinect are pretty wobbly, and I can't be certain that the developers didn't write in our drinking problem as hilariously astute framing for the Kinect's shitty movement controls. Well, we're on a Trainia through Romania, taking a vacation with our wife. Our name is Josh, and the wife who doesn't like us very much is Kate. An old man speaking Romanian blocks our ability to chase Kate down to apologize until we head to the bathroom first and splash our face back into sobriety. Rise of Nightmares has us using real IRL gestures in front of our Kinect camera to make many in-game actions. This includes common things like sliding open doors and plenty of niche one-off actions like splashing water on our feet. Jeez. Kate, babe, listen, if I quit cold turkey, the Mirror Man comes back. We've got to give it time. Back in our compartment, discover that dear wife has left us a note.
Sorry, I got angry. I'm not myself lately. Meet me in the dining car.
So now we're headed to the dining car. On the way there, it's worth meeting the rest of the train passengers, because they're going to be our buddies once things go off the rails. First is a lone student named Lynn, whistling as she gazes out the window. Kate didn't take her headphones off. And by the way, I'm only assuming that this is Lynn based on the end credits having a character listed as Lynn. Rise of Nightmares is really bad at telling us people's names, so we have to process of elimination some of them from the credits. Now, I mentioned the walking sucks, and we'll still get to that once we're in a more open setting. But what I want to note here is this game is quite generous with how far away it lets us interact with most objects. If it says you can grab the door handle from 20 yards away, take the opportunity and let the game auto-move you the rest of the way over to the door. It's a big convenience. Next up, we meet two Russian ballerina twins, Tasha and Sasha.
Dasha? Sasha?
This is the first crouching tutorial I've ever played where I have to duck under a dancer's leg. Then meet a group of Europeans being European, dancing to rave music and deciding on sleeping arrangements at their next hostel. What's strange about the group is, I swear Katya looks familiar. On our way into the next car, this British baddie is shaken by a bump straight into our arms.
Sorry, these old Soviet rail cars buck like Shropshire ponies. Right. Well, I'm sure I'll see you around.
This is Jane, the hot psychiatrist who wants to problematically bang all of her depressed patients. That's actually canonical, we'll get to it later. Rise of Nightmares said, if we're gonna earn a mature rating anyway, we might as well explore the space.
Like those curves.
Okay, continuing forward in the train, we've got two soldiers, probably Romanian but maybe Ukrainian based on one of them being from Odessa. Then the ultra bassy ticket taker, who might be named Gregor, blocks our path to wife.
Sir, I must see your ticket.
No problem, it's right here. No sweat, I guess you want us to just invade this private car where it fell?
That's it done. You want to find your wife?
Hello, now I'm not so sure. This Romani fortune teller, name not given, apparently magicked our ticket into her room so that we could participate in the tarot reading that she had already set up and ready to go.
The lovers. This is very good. You love your wife very much, and she loves you.
Aw, good for Josh.
Somewhere you have lost your way. Don't worry. We still have your future. No. Nu, nu. E mai grav decât am crezut. He comes for you. It may be already too late.
Side note, I love the wobbly zoom in that the camera does during cutscenes. It feels very Oblivion. Allegedly, you can bend your hips and shoulders to look around during cutscenes, but I promise I was only ever holding as still as I possibly could, and this is the least wobbly it gets. It gives a handheld camera vibe that I think works pretty well.
These fortune tellers always predict doom and gloom.
Gregor, maybe, checks our mini-golf scorecard and lets us forward into the dining car, where we see Kate being led off by a man in a gray suit.
Kate, do you mind? The school is private, yeah?
Sidestep this Jean-Ralphio phone douche, and we're free to explore the dining car, where I pick up my first tarot card, one of the game's collectibles. And these do nothing. They're not worth a special ending, no extra power-up, not even any lore. You can read about them in the menu, but it's just actual descriptions of the cards themselves and what they might mean in a fortune-telling capacity. The more interesting collectibles are tapes, the first of which we can find in the kitchen. These are audio logs left by an English private investigator, maybe named Peter based on the credits, who traveled a similar path to the one we're on now a year or two in the past as he searched for a man who suddenly went missing in these deep Romanian forests. A few steps further, and for the second time this game, we're forced to enter an area that is very clearly where many people have met their violent deaths. He may have a drinking problem and likes to stare at hot psychiatrist butts, but Josh is not a coward. We immediately jump into the blood car in pursuit of our beloved comptroller. Hey, that's the thing we saw in the mirror. He's real. And he's abducting our wife. And he seems to hate the military. The fortune teller shows up to yell at the creature, and the two of us chase him to find Grey Suit Man has not only decoupled the rail cars, but caused our side to derail and tumble into the river, where we begin Act 2. After crouching under something that isn't a ballerina's leg, Gregor, maybe, gets swept away by the river before we're able to help him. It's one of the better outcomes for characters in this game, to be honest. You don't know that he doesn't survive. Then we're left to the first of many segments in Rise of Nightmares where walking is a main mechanic, so it's finally time to talk about how rough the Kinect movement controls are. Theoretically, you move forward by stepping 1 foot forward IRL and keeping it there, basically just maintaining a staggered stance. But the Kinect is the Kinect, and it's iffy at picking this up if your step is anything short of a dramatic forward lunge. It's better at picking you up if you point your toe and exaggerate the bend in your knee. This tests your balance a little, and it's still not the most reliable, but it's usually fine. I used toe pose for longer walking segments when there wasn't any threat if I didn't need fine control over my path. But the most reliable forward movement, unfortunately, is to stand fully on one leg and raise the other knee high off the ground ahead of yourself in a Tai Chi pose called Golden Rooster stands on one leg. I wish this was a joke. I spent 5 gosh darn hours standing on one leg to film this video. No, I didn't even alternate legs because I usually wanted to be doing stuff with my right hand, and the balance felt better if I was standing on my left leg the whole time. My trainer is going to be wondering why I'm doing my squats diagonally tomorrow. Turning complicates matters further. With no controller, you turn Josh in Rise of Nightmares by turning your whole chest to the left or right, as though you're rollerblading. The Kinect is rather good at picking up this motion, but the consequence of that is that the dead zone is way too small. It's impossible not to be constantly micro-turning, so a good deal of the frustration in this game is correcting these unintentional spins. Then sprinkle in that you often want to be turning while moving forward, so here I am, keeping my balance on one leg, recruiting core strength to keep the other knee raised while twisting my shoulders to help navigate turns. Rise of Nightmares is not a physically accessible game at all. I have a few recommendations on how you can make it physically easier on yourself that we'll cover at the end, but you need a lot of room and you need to have good physical mobility to play this game. There's no accessibility setting to help that. In the meantime, the tottering, unintentionally spinning movement of Josh actually is in character for someone with a drinking problem. Josh's alcoholism actually isn't a plot point at all going forward, so it really seems like that character flaw might have entirely been a joke by Sega at the expense of the Kinect hardware. Well, after a few sections of balancing on top of wet train cars, we reach what is thankfully the game's only run segment. By run, they don't mean do the same walking movement you've been doing, but more so. The game actually wants us pumping our arms and doing rapid high knee raises, and you can't half-ass it. No gym class dropouts in here. After failing twice and getting game overs because I'm a big man living on the second floor of a condo building and I didn't want to go hard enough to cause an earthquake for my neighbors, I absolutely sent it the third time to make sure there wouldn't be a fourth. Then, yelling out sorry to no one in particular, I met up with the other survivors of the train crash on the far bank. Phone Douche is here, the younger soldier, half of the Ravers, Lynn, and Romanian John Locke. They've all made it to this cave opening to shelter from the rain and set a bonfire for warmth. Before now, these were just randoms on our train, but now there are companions stuck with us in a survival situation. And these characters are a big highlight of Rise of Nightmares. No one's a hero, they're all just people caught up in the same disaster with their own merits and flaws. Comparing that man to John Locke wasn't a throwaway, I really do get Lost vibes from this. There's some superstitious group chatter about, is the land cursed, before most of them head further into the cave seeking other survivors. I think we should stay together.
We should stay together.
I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah, I'm not gonna have any luck getting him to go anywhere.
Well, as much as I'm enjoying the rainy day vibes on this desolate riverbank, it's time to raise the fist of allyship and let it auto-walk me to the group. If you over-rely on auto movement, you'll miss collectibles and weapon pickups, but it's highly useful for putting you back on track after you've explored side areas for the above. In this case, allyship leads me straight down a rocky chute and into fetid pond water.
Is everyone alright?
Super. Couldn't be better. So gonna sue someone.
I just felt something grab my...
Nobody even attempts to help our soldier friend, by the way. They just immediately write him off as a goner and swim by. I tested out frog stroke and front crawl here, by the way. Both work. Good job, programmer. And that's not the end of fun Kinect interactions. Honestly, every time this game had me do some niche one-off action like swatting away leeches, it worked great and felt immersive.
All this nature stuff. I hate it.
Well, to leech their own. Sure, basic walking might be problematic in Rise of Nightmares, but most of the Kinecty movements in the game felt like fun, justifiable uses of the hardware. I find a second detective tape. It sounds like Peter tracked his quarry to this forest, then realized there was something behind him.
My instincts as an investigator tell me there's something behind me.
Oh well, we get to be the something behind as we catch up to our group and find a sign that something more serious than a train derailment might be going on here. Romania, but I think you knew that. We get a glimpse of the fortune teller up ahead, but she walks off before we can say hello. And now is when I learned that tapes collected on a previous playthrough aren't findable in the world anymore, so I had to replay a couple tapes from around here in the menu.
Being myself and my Romanian guide, had been wending our way over mountain trails when we came across crude yet eerie grave markers. Upon seeing them, my guide turned and fled while spitting out curses in his native tongue.
The setup here is definitely borrowing elements from Dracula, the novel. Man visits creepy remote place in Romania, and the guides are only willing to help him get so far due to superstition. Then it sounds like our detective began to run into dismembered corpses, but they weren't torn apart as by a beast. Their limbs were cut off neatly and deliberately as by a butcher, so now I'm hearing elements of Frankenstein. You should see if any other classic horror stories come to mind for you during the course of Rise of Nightmares. It's clear to me that the writer had a love for Gothic literature, especially Frankenstein, as we'll see soon.
Aaron!
You're alive!
Reaching a graveyard, we're happy to unite with more survivors from the train. Those ballerinas made it, and a third raver too, the one who looks like Scott Stapp. But there's no sign of the fortune teller we just espied, or oddly, the fourth raver, Katya. Sasha and Tasha aren't happy to be stuck here, but their main concern is missing their performance tomorrow.
What was that?
Well, it sounded like that girl just stacked the cups in the Skrillex sample. But I guess I can go check if that scream was one of our missing women. You can kick open most doors in this game, by the way. It's very fun. Skulls clatter delightfully down the stairs as the Fist of Allyship brings us into a spacious crypt. Here's a pro tip for Rise of Nightmares. Starting now, you never want to be without a weapon. Searching for one after enemies have spawned in is a drag. So I kicked open a crate before investigating further and equipped some brass knuckles just in case.
Oh god! Did that one just move?
Wait, so the scream was only Lynn, who chose to come down here. Entirely optional behavior, by the way. So now we have to deal with the situation. Lynn panics, runs back upstairs, and it's go time for Josh. I'm out here slicing up zombies, I'm blocking attacks, this is flow state. But these early weapons aren't very damaging. One poor zombie is still randy after I've cut off both of her arms. After a sturdy kick to the boob, it still takes several more cuts to stop her. Most zombies in this game have one or more steampunk metal limbs, which I'm assuming is supposed to be a core gameplay mechanic, with metal limbs taking less damage. Theoretically, you counter this by chopping at the fleshy side or slicing horizontal to go for the torso, but I didn't have much patience for nuance in a Kinect game where I'm happy that it registers my attacks at all. I imagine this matters more on higher difficulty. I'm just chopping till they drop. Call me D-Pat because I'm Chopra, who incidentally has his own Kinect game. Different weapons have different qualities, allegedly. Blunt weapons don't cut off limbs like bladed weapons can, and fist weapons require you to jab rather than swing, which I had a tougher time getting the Kinect to register, so I tried to avoid those. But for the most part, I just cared about a weapon's invisible damage value and how many swings it takes to kill a zombie with. A machete is a fair bit better than a combat knife, for example, and hatchets feel a little better than machetes. Back topside, the group of survivors has scattered, so we're on our own battling our way out of the graveyard. Through several more walking corpses, we reach a detective tape that recounts him meeting the zombies too. He got over the whole Walking Dead thing pretty quickly though, and he's more fascinated by their crafted metal limbs and the puppet-like aspect that gives them. Oh, and aside from weapon damage, it's important to point out how each weapon has a different durability. This knife arm I borrowed from a dead zombie is very flimsy and breaks after only a few swings, but most weapons are good for like 8 enemies, and there's always some other weapon to grab when one breaks. Running out of weapons is not a thing. This is not a survival horror game. Well, we catch up to Monica from the group, who had gone ahead. Okay, gone without a head. And the wife-abducting ogre from the train abducts us too to begin Act 3.
Was auch immer du willst. Meine Eltern, die können es besorgen. Bitte.
But why? I have all I need right here.
Did you do that?
Why not? Ah, back among the living, I see. You're next. Ring, ring, ring. Ring, ring, ring.
Is someone going to answer that?
Hold on, did he just say ring, 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 and now he's picking up a phone call that's not plugged in?
Hello? Ah, sweetheart. No, I was working on the... No, I didn't forget. I was going to get to that later. No, that's not what I mean. I know. I'm sorry. Yes, dear, I'll be right there. Marie needs me. Right now.
So, that was Victor, and he's our main bad guy in Rise of Nightmares, the man who likes cutting people up and putting metal arms on their zombie bodies. Victor invented a fake phone call to get out of carving us up right now, so he leaves us in the capable hands of his very buxom nurse. Hey, it's Romanian John Locke. He followed us into the Cursed Lands after all to try and help the hapless tourists. Now, Act 3 is grueling, and I knew that going in. I committed my whole day to this game. But if you're getting tired of standing on one leg and making repetitive chopping motions to fight zombies, do not start Act 3 without taking a break. It is a marathon, starting with a prison break alongside RJL. Well, pitter patter. We've been brought into Victor's castle and disarmed, in a very different sense as to how Max was disarmed. With RJL as a follower, our only objective is to escape with our life. That's scary. It's easy to forget under the connectiness of it all, but Rise of Nightmares is pretty competent at being a horror game. Jeez, it's like someone wants us to witness these deaths.
It is like somebody wants us to witness the deaths.
I'm on high alert right now because, much like the prologue, escaping feels a little too easy, like someone's catching tourists just to play with them, a cat and mouse game. Supporting that hypothesis, the key to open this cell and simply walk out of here is around the executed man's neck. That's a man we don't recognize from the train, by the way. They had to invent a couple more generic throwaway people for all the death scenes that they wanted to pack in this game. Such as, okay, well, that's the same character model as the last guy. Maybe they just prestiged him a bunch. I raised the fist of allyship to take me and RJL down several long corridors, then down a broad staircase, and it looks like we've made it out of the prison. With a brighter atmosphere and some decorative trim on the walls, this is now just part of someone's castle.
It's fresh.
Oh, no, not right there, buddy. Aside from being disgusting, this one's heartbreaking. Romanian John Locke stuck his neck out to rescue us. Now get this man on a flight to Australia, maybe it'll fix his legs. We step into the first door nearby. It's a mortuary, complete with zombie doctors we can take out using our first ranged weapon, a stack of scalpels. Okay, so these are pretty good. The fact that ranged weapons have a finite supply is really no different from melee weapons with their durability. The number is just visible in this case. And now that we've met Victor face to face, this detective's tape can fill in a lot of missing backstory.
Victor Fleischer, my quarry, a scholar hailing from Ingolstadt. An authority in medicine, science, philosophy, history, and more besides. The purportedly brilliant man vanished without warning, according to my client. A curiously attractive one, who, while not related, appeared to have an urgent need to have him found.
Someone very rich, and apparently also very hot, paid our detective to hunt down Victor, and given that we're finding his recordings inside Victor's castle, it seems that he succeeded. But the game never circles back to that mysterious patron who hired him to find Victor. And I don't think they plant any ideas for the player on who that might have been. We don't meet anyone who fits the description. That trope of a shadowy benefactor is just another plot element that feels like an old-school literary trope. Tragically, we run out of scalpels in the next hall, and I'm reduced to a combat knife as we proceed. Hold on. I thought I saw another weapon over there. Oh yeah, this thing fucks. Side note, I filmed this game on International Women's Day when hacking up huge boobied zombie nurses with an ice saw felt especially uncouth. Sorry ladies, this isn't me, I swear. But this next bit absolutely is. You know how Silent Hill games have you reach in some really gross toilets? Well, I'm not sure any of those are as bad as this blood throne that Rise of Nightmares makes us reach our own hand into connectedly. Someone gave birth in here, my goodness. Or is it any less gross to say someone's been having too many hot Cheetos and Big Red? My beloved ice saw eventually gives out, so I reluctantly swap for some brass knuckles and enter a huge, quiet, empty room with some ominous dormant machinery and a conspicuous mist handle to pull. I mean, I'm not gonna not pull this handle, but I've never had a game make me feel like I'm initiating a saw trap on myself before. Naturally, some big old blades start spinning, a crowd of zombies pour in for us to use on those traps, and oddly it looks like Victor's up in the theater watching this play out. He's aware we've escaped at this point. Lucky him, I guess, cause I don't even get to watch the blades do much work. 2 zombies engaged me and claimed my attention from around the side, and I'm stuck handling them slowly with my crappy fist weapons. 2 more zombies remain after that, of the Haktua variety, so they're content to just stand there and act as turrets. I've got to rush past the blades and handle them up close. These guys spit ranged vomit at us that can be blocked like any melee attack, but if it lands, it's only just blooper ink from Mario Kart. You can still run around and fight while you're blinded. Okay, the yeah-yeah-yeahs. Inside another lab room is a detective tape, this one not adding too much lore except to describe how absolutely rancid this place smells.
If there were an outhouse in hell, it must reek of putrefaction like this.
High-key, the writing of the detective tapes nails a creepy old-school epistolary vibe. Alright, next we want to go through these huge doors to either escape from here or find Kate, ideally both. But to open them, we've got to first make a loop to the basement, where another detective tape begins to show signs of his slip on reality.
If this madness is no dream, I must run. My instincts scream it. But I'm also fascinated by Victor, the lord of this madhouse. My professional curiosity keeps me here.
Sorry, he's choosing to stay here? Having found Victor's castle, seen the deadwalk, the torture, and smelled Hell's outhouse, our detective is disregarding his instincts to run. Whoever paid him to find Victor would surely be satisfied just with the location of his castle. It's not like this is a bounty hunt. What's Victor going to do, move all this? Perhaps the castle has a certain hypnotic quality that draws a person in. Well, moment of truth. I've been using some sweet ranged weapon test tubes, and here's more. Let's see if they stack. Bing pot. Flipping a switch down here opens the doors upstairs, but it also sets loose electro zombies, which I don't think have any kind of special status effect. Shock power is still just damage. You heal to full after not taking damage for several seconds, by the way. There's no health pickups or healing abilities in this game. You go in fresh to each new encounter. We can't go back upstairs the way we came, cause puddles that had lined the way are now electrified, so we've got to go down another level first and then around. And this is one of the less pleasant sections in the game. It's a long stretch until another checkpoint, and I had to repeat it a few times. We've got spike walls that can kill zombies, but the problem with that is maneuverability. I'm trying to fight zombies, not my Kinect, so I'm mostly stuck to good old-fashioned slashing. But at the end of the hall, that's a bloody chainsaw. Let's pop open the hatch for this ladder and... Sure. Oh look, it's some blade traps. It's easy enough to dodge the first two, but the third one seems to be disabled. It's not falling no matter how long I wait, so... Okay, that's some bull. It looks like it's scripted to fall once you get really close to it, and I thought I was. This game can take a second to stop moving you once you put your leg down, so I was being conservative. I didn't think I needed to literally touch the trap with my nose. After working back here, the next room lets us have fun with our chainsaw, but it doesn't last quite long enough to take out every enemy. For better or worse, the developers kept this game balanced. The chainsaw breaks like any other weapon, and we've got to scrounge for something else to complete the room. Then after all that, I stepped too close to an electric puddle and had to redo this part a third time. Once we finally make it back to the double doors, congrats! We're less than halfway done with Act 3. I told you this one is huge. Not that chapter delineations matter much, but this very clearly should have been the point where they cut the act in half. We begin the new area unarmed. I found a stupid vase that I immediately traded up into some giant tongs, and these things rule. Does someone have a toothache? Call the dentist, it's 2:30. Up a spiral staircase. Mean thing to do on a Kinect, by the way. Hot zombie French maids join the enemy pool. The sexualized zombies are so out of place. I mean, this game takes itself relatively seriously, but a little seasoning of horny content serves as a memorial to gaming in the year 2011. And speaking of horny, through this next door... It's Jane, from the train. She escaped kidnap as well, so we travel together while she shares her hypothesis that everyone here is a zombie.
Now lost in psychosis?
Advance with her to the next room where we meet that thing again.
Oh no, it's that thing again.
This is where we learn from the text in the objective box that this guy's name is Ernst, and the way to handle Ernst is the one Kinect motion that I'm great at, simply not moving. The implication is that Ernst is blind under that helmet, which we disprove later in a bit of a plot hole, but maybe we can just agree he doesn't care for loud noises. Ernst would not have survived at my parents' house after 4 p.m. when the TV came on. Oh, so he just lets that one go? Good, because I found a detective tape that I'm going to play out loud as well. This one has some important Victor lore. It sounds like he was an orphan, got adopted by the rich Thomas family, grew up very smart, and then did research funded by the Thomases after college on cursed rich people stuff like immortality and superpowers before he eventually went independent and retreated to this castle. Perhaps the person who hired our detective was a Mrs. Thomas who wanted their asset back. We do catch up with Jane in what once would have been a beautiful dining room.
He'll never get through that door.
He never did get through that door. Then following those two into the kitchen, Josh notices a corpse that looks rather suspicious.
That corpse is rather suspicious.
Well, the faint-hearted might find this bit even worse than the toilet. There's a key in this body, and you really need to goosh around in there to find it. That was extremely wet. Moving on through a cozy parlor, this is our first door with a QuickTime event upon opening. I have to duck or get a game over, even on easy. Luckily, I'm pretty quick with it thanks to training legs, but traps can feel pretty unfair, as we'll see soon. Then, pulling a lever to unlock the next door populates the halls with a significant zombie brawl where I get to employ shock knuckles, the one fist weapon all game that doesn't suck because they take down enemies in 2 or even 1 jab sometimes. Melee zombies are almost the only enemy that we fight all game outside of bosses. We've already seen spitter zombies, and there are like 3 banshee zombies that we'll see a little bit later, but something like 240 out of 260 enemies that we'll fight all game long are effectively reskins of the same melee range zombie. So, enemy variety is one place where Rise of Nightmares had room to improve. We could have had zombies that you need to kick first, or zombies in really heavy armor that's hard on your weapons, so you want to kill those with environmental traps, or like anything besides zombies, bats. However, on the flip side of that, it's important to remember that the control scheme on the Kinect is not only awkward and imperfect, it's new, and asking players to handle too many mechanics while adapting to a strange control scheme might have tipped the scale and ruined the combat entirely, which is a worse sin than being a little boring. At least the zombies do have a wide visual variety. Alright, go up a ladder, kill a final maid and one more straggler, then that long combat section is over and we're rewarded with a tape. We learn that Victor was high-strung and introverted, which the detective calls normal for a scientist.
What isn't is that he suddenly vanished with Mary, telling his few friends they were going on holiday. What drove him to this madness?
This is our first time learning about Victor's wife, Mary, who's going to be a key player in our plot. We did hear Victor say Mary needs him earlier when he invented that phone call and left us with the nurse. Just out this door is... Wait, hey, I didn't move? I guess they mean don't move after you get out of Ernst's way. But the timing is kind of tight. The moment he shows up, you've got to rush into the corner. You've got to take the situation seriously. Oscar Wilde was right. It's the importance of being Ernsted. To open the door just past Ernst is kind of tricky too. We've got to crank this old-timey instrument, title of your sex tape, boom, at just the right speed and for a pretty long duration to unlock the door. And I'm not dumb, I can keep a beat, but that's not really how this operates. The Kinect camera does not have the precision of a rock band guitar. I had to keep tweaking my speed to stay in the green band. Then, before we can hop in the door we unlocked, a gaggle of zombies hop in through the windows, which is a shame because that spends down the remaining durability of my ice saw. Now, this is the one point in the game where you really might want to backtrack and grab a fresh weapon for the next room. The game does always provide a fresh weapon when one's needed, if you can find it. I had failed to notice the giant tongs in this room before I got swarmed by 3 kink-outfitted leather mommies who shrugged off my bare-knuckle punches. I couldn't even ora one of them by the time I died. And sadly, those spiked cabinets in the back, they're not Iron Maidens because they're not iron, it doesn't let us use those for environmental kills. After my second attempt, gone in with a fresh meat tenderizer to beat up all the kink zombies, I realized there's no way out of this room full of torture equipment. The door has closed behind me. So I went over and gave those cabinets a closer look. Surely 2 of them will just kill me, but one of them looks different.
There's a slight draft here.
And stepping inside, we're taken to a cozy living room where we finally find a sign of our wife. It's the necklace we gave her as a gift years ago.
I gave this necklace to Kate as a gift years ago.
Then the phone rings and a woman, Mary, taunts us through the TV.
Is this who you're looking for? You'll never find her, and you can't have her back.
I'll find her, you sick bitch.
Oh, best of luck, sweetie.
Shoot, so Mary has Kate captive? Those 2 run this torture castle together? What a power couple. Down a hatch, we pass a few more zombies and... Okay, it's time to talk about this. I don't know if it's Rise of Nightmares specifically or the Kinect hardware in general, because this is my first Kinect game, but my Kinect wants me to step like 20 feet back from my TV. Except I don't live in a mansion, so that's kind of hard to do. I changed everything I could. I scooted my TV and camera as far back as they'll go on the stand, and I pushed the stand against the wall. I built a big stack of books behind my TV to make a platform to hold the Kinect above the TV, which is supposed to work better than if it's below. I changed my lighting, I messed with the curtains, I hung up a sheet behind me to disguise some texture that's on my walls, I moved my couch, which was against the wall 12 feet away, so that I could now stand against the wall 14 feet away. And despite all that, the Kinect insisted I was too close to the sensor, even though it could see me just fine if I moved up. You've probably seen the move back from the sensor warning pop up a few times in the corner of my footage. It's unfortunate there's no way to disable that because it's pretty large and annoying. I'd rather not have the warning show up, even if that meant that I'd be unaware that the Kinect can't quite see my fingertips when I stretch my arms up over my head, you know? But with the couch moved and my back to the wall, my Kinect was mostly okay with how far away I was. The warning will come up for a split second every now and then, but then begrudgingly admit that I am standing pretty far back. And I can live with that for like 95% of the game. But when I reach a QuickTime event that game overs me for failing to take a step back, which I physically can't do with all the space I've given up for my Kinect, well, the only way to handle that is to replay that part 2 steps closer to my TV and suffer the intrusive step back warning so that I actually have room to pass the QuickTime event next time. I never did pass any of those step back events on the first try. They would have to kill me and then I would get it right on the second attempt, which added up to a meaningful amount of replayed minutes over the course of the game. There are 4 or 5 in total. Okay, well the section after that has spiked floors, another place where precision of movement matters. This is where the constant tendency to slightly turn in one direction or the other really hurts, but I take it slow and get through in one take. After another Ernst dodging hallway, we finally meet that last enemy type, a Banshee. It stands there wailing, which causes damage if we don't cover our ears with both hands. It's a pretty clever way for bringing more complexity to combat. Unfortunately, it just doesn't work in a room with other enemies. I need my hands to fight, so the options are die from banshee cries or die from getting my ass beat. Thank goodness for easy difficulty letting me tank lots of damage, cause I don't trust the movement enough to play this room correctly and rush over to kill the banshee first. Those probably should have been tutorialized first in a room with only 1 or 0 other enemies. The following room seems to be a nursery. Do Victor and Mary have a child? In it, we find a detective tape offering more details about Mary, who sounds like she was transformed into a monster during her time married to Victor.
She had once been described a quiet and kindly woman, truly a lady of the Blue Blood Thomas clan. As living in this nightmarish place infected her with madness.
What I want to add to this is, he said Mary of the Thomas clan? It sounds like Victor might have married his adopted sister. It's not necessarily taboo. The Thomas clan might be large, so maybe she's only a cousin, the norms on which vary across cultures and over time. And without a blood relation, because Victor was adopted, it's not a biological problem. But it's easy to miss the detail that Victor married one of his relatives, and I think that contributes to his mystique. Also, I don't have a better time to bring this up, but the names Victor and Mary could easily be references to Frankenstein, a book by Mary Shelley, and of course the doctor was Victor Frankenstein. We kill a few more maids with OP scalpels, then head into the next room, which houses some oddities.
I'm no fashion expert, but that is one ugly dress.
It's a hidden dressing room full of gaudy, old-timey dresses, almost as if they were picked out by someone who knows nothing of fashion. We exit that dressing room through a secret panel to reach the game's worst movement challenge by a long shot, but it's something that would be at home in any non-Kinect video game. 3 columns of staggered saw blades move up and down a hallway that we need to traverse, and it's miserable. I died 3 times here, and none of those deaths felt earned. Luckily, the checkpoint is right before this. These blades just needed to move much slower, and this would have been playable. They're speeding along as though we have an analog stick. This is, however, the final precise movement challenge in the whole game. Once you get through this, you're done with sections that I would consider frustrating. We reach one more cool set-piece chamber where we have to hunt for a key in piles of skulls, then we're on to our first boss fight. What we're up against are the ballerina twins from the train. Seems like Victor has already managed to operate on them, turning them into zombies with blade hands, which also mind controls them, I guess?
It's time to start the show, my darling prima ballerinas.
Our objective reads, defeat the altered Sasha and Tasha. They're in thrall to Mary, but they've still kept their personalities. They have some great voice lines that I wasn't able to appreciate in the thick of the fight, but I cracked up when I checked the footage.
If you were a legion, you would die first. Just let me Please. Now we show you how good we dance and kill.
Mechanically, this fight is surprisingly smooth. I just hack away at whichever twin is up close, blocking attacks when I spot the winds up. There's occasional quick time events to let us dodge big attacks, but on easy, it's fortunately not lethal even if one of these connects. I broke one hatchet off in Sasha's face and had to go grab another, placed conveniently around the arena, then finished the job pretty soon thereafter against both dancers for an altogether clean first try victory. This boss fight was way easier than every environmental hazard we faced getting to it. It's clear that playing on easy reduced the combat difficulty, but not the trap difficulty, and I would have strongly preferred the opposite, since the boss fights are actually cool, but movement is what's a drag. And after 1 hour, 43 minutes, we're finally done with Act 3. We're also halfway done with the whole game, despite there being 9 acts. Act 3 is just that long. The great news is that the quality of levels goes up from here sharply. We've reached the courtyard of a beautiful, large castle where Kate is presumably being held. We've got to find a lever to open the Kate Gate.
Looks like a lever should go here.
My first stop is this outbuilding where I find an entire shelf of ranged weapons. I'm like the kids entering Wonka's chocolate room. This is Christmas morning. I use that hall of test tubes to thin out the abundant courtyard zombies while a new tape plays. This one's not substantial, but it's written quite poetically, an account of the investigators' first approach to the castle. My test tubes run out before long, but the zombies here are dropping more ranged weapons in turn. These creature claws are like mega scalpels. I love them.
Hey you! Over here!
What the heck? It's a new friend. A strange man is locked in this barn claiming to be Victor's disgraced employee.
I can help you get your wife back. Just get me out of here.
That sounds good to me. Well, that work I did clearing the courtyard paid off because the key we need is near the fountain in the center. Then the Fist of Allyship guides me back to the shed where we get maybe the best cutscene all game.
Don't be alarmed. I'm not quite myself right now. I know. But I'm your best friend now, right? That f***er Victor did this to me, and I promise I'll help you if you get me out of my flea-ridden state.
Yeah, so this is Marcosius, and I don't blame the game for not letting us pet the dog in this case. Apparently, he almost dropped an important jar in the lab, and Victor's punishment was to splice his head onto a dog's body. We follow him to the operating room, but saving him is going to be more complicated than that.
I can put my head back on my body, but it won't matter. The doctor made things difficult. He pulled my heart out and put it in a jar.
Great, so we're looking for a zombie with a man's heart?
What are you waiting for? It's not on ice.
We've got to climb a tower first to spawn the zombie in question. On the way, they give us the actual best weapon all game, the Meat Mincer, which does exactly what the name suggests. It's really easy to handle too on the Kinect. You just keep your arms extended and turn to face enemies. After grabbing Marcosius's heart, he pops it in and reclaims his body, which we don't witness, but the dialogue while he's self-operating is hilarious.
This isn't pleasant. Ow, please end.
Marcosius hands us the lever we need for accessing the Kate Gate, but Ernst has made it to the courtyard by now, forcing a brief red light, green light. One more detective tape that spawned out here now lets me show off a feature that's kind of silly, but I love it. The tape itself is just a literary description of the castle. But if you trigger any other dialogue, or in this case an Ernst QuickTime event, while an audio log is playing, the tape freezes mid-sentence and resumes exactly where it left off once you can focus on it again. The biggest reason that I have a negative impression of BioShock was that it didn't do this. That game jacks off about how good its storytelling is, but I couldn't enjoy any of its audio logs while respawning splicers were doing cartwheels at me and screaming about DNA. Rise of Nightmares' audio pause is inelegant, but it's perfectly functional, and I prefer that. Okay, use the lever Marcosius gave us to get in that tower to find it covered in chalk and paint and children's art. Oh boy, this next part is going to be cursed, isn't it? A woman's ghost, looking a lot like Mary and singing French nursery rhymes, floats away from us up spiral stairs, and no matter how high I raise my fist of allyship, I'm unable to catch her. Of course, there's a boss fight waiting for us at the top.
What happened to them?
Don't resist it, dude. It'll hurt less if you do what she wants.
Boss 2 is against Max and Monica, two of the ravers from the train, and their dialogue straddles a line between reverie and begging me to end their enslavement. It's as though being turned into a mechanical zombie by Victor is empowering and rapturous at the cost of losing your mind, but it takes a minute to fully lose your mind. There's a mental battle taking place in those heads. Mechanically, I just swing the hell out of my weapon at whichever boss is in my face at the moment. This fight is pretty big on backstep quicktime events, which we've established isn't possible for me, though thankfully again it's not lethal to face tank those. And Monica has me doing more sidesteps, which are easy to avoid. Some nasty little Zorn and Thorn jester dolls fall from the ceiling after I down each of the ravers, who need a final tap to win the boss fight. Then the French ghost Mary, upset that I slew her new slaves, does a banshee wail, making me cover my ears for a very long time. Am I supposed to be doing something? Turns out, no. You just stand there for 28 seconds until Ghost Mary exits through a golden portal and I follow her into a mystical chapel. Tragically, my Bone Crusher Club doesn't make the jump with me. The puzzle we face in this temple is very cool. Our only hint is to offer a prayer.
Offer a prayer, huh?
And the only thing to interact with is this glowing circle, which then tells me to pose. Thinking that the Kinect was going to take a cute photo of me or something, I struck a pose like a girl doing a fit check on TikTok and got toasted to death. So there must be a specific pose that I'm meant to hit. Turns out there are 4 statues around the altar, all making the pose we're supposed to copy, but they're broken in different ways, so you have to check them all to piece together what your arms and legs each need to be doing. And this is implemented really well on the Kinect, because I accidentally failed a second time just by having the wrong knee forward. Once I tried it with the actual correct pose, a glowing door opened down to a mystical altar, where I receive a glowing steampunk glove named Azoth. It's a bit of a tone change. We just went from Gothic horror closer to Tomb Raider. I think the idea is that Victor was experimenting with multiple disciplines of supernaturalness, and one of those tools is undisclosed ancient civilization type alchemy. The power of Azoth can open certain doors, but it also acts as a weapon. By holding our left arm up, elbow bent 90 degrees, and holding our left elbow with our right hand, we can charge for 3 seconds and unleash a purple blast with pretty good AoE. It's got unlimited durability, but only 3 charges at a time, which regenerate quickly enough that I never found myself wanting, so yes, effectively unlimited. With the power of Azoth, we leap back through the portal to the last boss room, Azoth Blast, more of those creepy jester toys, and I knock the stuffing out of the last few with a mace, which is highly satisfying. Then back down the spiral children's art staircase is a glowing door we can open with Azoth, leading to someplace familiar. This is the prison from the prologue, the one where we got crushed between the walls. They ain't gonna crush me this time, I know their tricks. My only fear is a step back QTE. In one cell, we find another detective tape. Looks like they caught him. The detective realizes, with horror, that Victor probably knew he was here the whole time and allowed him to sneak in to witness all of his tortures and experiments.
Why did he let me wander free? Why did he wait to catch me? I hear footsteps coming. It must be Victor. He's going to operate on me. I'm convinced of it. I'm going to become one of them. I won't allow that. Please, God, may you have mercy on my soul for taking my own life.
Don't worry, he doesn't. That body is just a red herring. In the chest in his cell is a new fist weapon that sounds pretty alright, then... Another tape from the detective, must have been from before his capture, says he found something curious in Victor's lab that must be the key to his true identity. Of course, we don't know what that thing is, but this tape sets the stage for wondering whether Victor might not be whom he appears to be. Then, there's no path open to us except going the same bloody end of the hall where those two got crushed in the prologue. The walls come for me too, but Azoth is the key that lets us out of the trap. And straight into the arms of Victor and Ernst.
Kate! Get away from her!
His clothes up.
What? We just had a boss, and it's already time for second boss? Luckily, Ernst's big attacks don't kill me for being bad. Stabbing him doesn't seem very effective until I remember we just got a shiny new explosive tool. That makes Ernst double over in pain, and I work him over with crappy fist weapons while he's vulnerable. Thankfully, there's a superior hatchet lying around once those break, and I even got good at sidestepping Ernst's chain arm attacks later in the fight. It's another boss handled on the first try. We're able to rescue Kate from her beer, and Josh actually just dumps her face first onto the ground in time for Ernst to recover and rush at us.
Get up, you pathetic worm! I made you better than this!
Oh, ran out of juice. What?
Idiot! What are you doing?
Run! Get out now! Tell Yelly I love her.
Go after them! Obey me! Well, you made your choice.
Whoa, so Ernst, like all the other zombies, still had a piece of himself locked away in there. Victor's just got them all 3/4 mind controlled. And what was that? Tell Yelly I love her? That was all Act 4. It was only 2/3 as long as Act 3, but still pretty big. And we've done it. We've extricated our wife, and now we're walking together on a chill forest path, armed with a machete, which is the most reliable of the common weapons. Act 5 is a lightweight escort section. The enemy load is very light, but they do walk past you and try to reach Kate if you're not attentive, so make sure to check on her occasionally.
God, what is happening? I'm scared.
Unfortunately, Kate panics hardcore under pressure. You booked our trip, Kate. Be cool. It's just a zombie. I find a baseball bat at the same time I find a drill. Obviously, I went with the drill because that's in the Meat Mincer family. But this illustrates something Rise of Nightmares does weirdly, the pacing of weapons. They'll often give you a sweet weapon right before the end of an act, or a cutscene that strips your weapon away so you don't ever get to use the thing. Or in this case, 2 cool weapons at the same time, so you only get to enjoy one. And this is literally the only instance of each of these in the game, so I won't get to use the baseball bat without playing again. None of that is bad, but it is strange. It smells like they actually just made too many weapons for the game and had to stick some of them in stupid places. Well, I nail the QTE jump to cross this bridge. Sorry, neighbors. Then it's obvious to me that Kate's gonna mess up the jump. Sure enough, she falls, and I have to figure out what a help Kate up gesture might look like.
We really need to talk as soon as we get a chance.
About good jumping form? Then just a few steps further, Kate gets hypnotized by magical rave music and wanders up to a glowing fertility altar entranced. Damn it, Kate, we just rescued you.
Oh, there she is. Right on time. I do so admire promptness. Don't you, my husband?
Of course, beloved. Thank you for bringing her right to us.
It's my husband's fault.
And here's the first of Rise of Nightmares' big twists. Victor's wife Mary is dead, and has been dead, so that ghost we saw of her in the tower was probably actual ghost Mary. The Mary we've been seeing all along on the TV and cheering on the ballerinas in our boss fight, that's been Victor. In a psychological break, unable to let Mary go, he's been dressing up and impersonating her to pretend she's still alive. It explains that hidden room full of dresses. He's doing a Bill Dauterive with Lenore. Obsession and grief preventing a person from moving on is a trope we see a lot in classic fiction. Dracula's all about obsession with dead wives, Wuthering Heights has Heathcliff, and even Poe's The Raven counts. That narrator's obsession with the bird is based on his dead wife Lenore. Hold on, was King of the Hill making an Edgar Allan Poe reference? I know it's easy to clown on the cutscenes in this game. Every other video about Rise of Nightmares has a kind of get a load of this wacky game attitude. And yes, it is a Sega horror title. But the allusions to classic horror novels, the plot twists, even the structure of the storytelling in this game shows a depth of talent and real appreciation for literature. I fear that Rise of Nightmares might secretly be kinda artistic. Anyway, so one big reveal is that Mary's been dead, and I don't think Josh has figured it out by now, but it's pretty clear to the player that Kate is pregnant, and the ritual's purpose is to steal our baby's life to resurrect Mary for real. As the player, we're just destroying 4 energy towers here to stop the ritual. This section is the most straightforward, which is to say game-like, that this game has ever been. It's refreshing in its simplicity. And as far as these blue Reveler dudes and dudettes, they might appear like new enemies, but don't get it twisted. They're no different from plain old melee zombies. I guess the gimmick is that they have helmets on, so headshots aren't effective if you're someone who cares about that. I found bone shears still handle them quite neatly. With 4 towers broken, step up to the altar to disrupt the ritual. And just when we think we've saved Kate for a second time, betrayal.
The donor awakens.
Marcosius, you son of a bitch! I gave you your body!
Oh, poor Victor. I know I said I hated him, but now that I'm human again, I'm feeling more magnanimous. I'm glad he's taking a much younger body this time. This last one he squirmed into was well past its prime. He's a great man, you know, pushing the limits of mind and body. Others may say his work is unethical, insane even, but to me, Victor is a genius. Not very forgiving, though. You almost dropped the brain jar and snip, it's off to the doghouse. I guess you can't blame him. Now then, do try to relax. This won't hurt a bit.
Marcosius transubstantiated Victor's soul into a matrix bug that he shoves down our throat to take over Josh's body. That is beyond upsetting. This game would have gone so hard in virtual reality. Then, this might be a plot hole because they never show anyone transplanting a Josh soul bug out of his body, but we wake up later as Ernst.
Josh, that's not me.
In other words, and for what it's worth, this proves that Ernst wasn't blind under the helmet.
See, the beast is all locked away. You're safe as houses now. Of course, a vicious beast like him deserves much worse.
I don't know. He looks different now.
That snake. Victor stole our body and now he's walking away with Connecticut's #1 comptroller, who doesn't even like us that much. Like, I'm joking, but I'd expect my wife to notice my whole personality changed. And now for the latest installment of Mothy hypes up a old Kinect game way more than it deserves. Y'all, this plot structure is genius. We're playing the prequel again, from the other perspective. We're watching those two people who got crushed in the prequel make their escape, and by now we recognize them as Aaron and Katya from the train. The prequel was a flash forward. And the Ernst they were running from, that was Josh the whole time, pleading desperately for their help. I have no mouth, and I must scream. And y'all, we are not done with twists. Find another of the detective's tapes here.
A young couple was held in a cell. The girl, who has mystifying eyes, was beaten down by fatigue. She leaned against the solidly built young man. He was bleeding, perhaps from torture. The cell door was impossible to open. I lied that I would get help for them and fled. A girl turned those strange eyes on me then. It felt as if she was seeing through me. But I can't save them. I must save myself. I fear they will be transformed like the others.
Can you think of a young woman with mystifying eyes and a solidly built young man? Perhaps a young man under zombie mind control who breaks it just before dying to help Josh and Kate escape a similar fate? Our detective met the young Ernst before Victor ever transformed him and his fiancée, our fortune teller, Yelly.
Ernst! Știu că ești tu! Nu te pune nimeni să faci asta!
Ernst Josh stumbles after the Europeans. If only they realized the gargling monster chasing them was Josh who meant them no harm, they wouldn't have had to get pulped. Well, there's one other way out of the prison, just... Son of a bitch! You know what? I deserve that. Fool me twice, you can't get fooled again. I've got to be watching the floors while we're in the castle, so I know when to step forward. A tape lets us know that Yelly was able to escape the castle thanks to Ernst sacrificing himself as a distraction. That's sad, and it makes me want to make his body proud of us as we drive it. Speaking of which, fighting as Ernst is pretty fun. We don't need weapons anymore because we shoot barbed chains out of our hands that kill enemies in 1 or 2 hits, and they do penetrate if there's multiple enemies stacked up. You fire the chains by making a Hadouken gesture. One more tape in the courtyard says the detective did help Yelly escape, so he wasn't a total coward, but then he went back in to satisfy his curiosity about Victor and found the escape route blocked when he went to leave later, which is how he finally got captured. Yelly is the only one who ever escaped from Victor's cursed castle. Let's hope we can be the second. In the barn where we first freed Marcosius is the detective's penultimate recording after he was caught and operated on, but not fully mentally depleted. It's reminiscent of the itchy tasty note from Resident Evil 1.
They must revere the man named Victor and be touched by his divine gift. To learn the joy of being more than human. Yes, glory to Victor! Glory to Victor! Hail Victor! Hail Victor!
As we chase Kate and fake Josh to the castle gates, a flood of zombies pour out to give us the one real power trip brawl in the campaign. With no low durability chainsaw to worry about, we're free to skewer rows and rows of zombies with chain arm Hadoukens. Allroom Blitz would have fit right in as the soundtrack here. Then inside the castle, we recognize the hall where Jane first helped Josh sneak by Ernst and find the detective's final tape. Kinda sounds like a parody of Hitler, if I'm being honest. Then, on the bright side, failing all of these events means y'all get to see some extra death cutscenes.
Oh, winding up in a broken monster's flesh. How humiliating. Don't worry. Soon you'll be like Ernst, a good little soldier. Your memories, your feelings, all the Joshness in there will drift away.
I'm alive.
Jane is still around? Well, as a zombie with the mind control Kalat, but still. And her Jane-ness, as Marcosius would phrase it, still breaks through at points during this fight.
Where am I? What am I?
Like previous bosses, Jane is mercifully simple, but she has a habit of teleporting from one end of the arena to the other just as you get close enough to strike her. The best strategy seems to be splitting the difference, but it means you can't use the pillars to help block her missiles. And I had more success by really testing the range of my chains and hitting her with the tip rather than taking the time to walk any closer. In Phase 2, Jane starts launching huge, slow missiles that look like they might actually be a game over if they do land, so I proactively step forward in order to successfully backstep them. Not sure if that was required, but it paid off.
What? Are you going to mess this up? Ooh, bloody hell.
You are,
Stay away from me.
Are you alive?
Zombie Jane, defeated and sounding like a Dalek, combusts and runs to grab Marcosius, which burns both of them to a crisp. Looks like a case of spontaneous combustion. Now, I'm going to tackle this next scene a little quickly because of content policy, but we stumble into the woods at dawn where Yelly meets us and begins a ritual to help return Josh's control to us. A ritual which seems to involve making love. Yeah, did you know you're allowed to do that on a Kinect game? Of course, we're wearing the skin of her fiancé Ernst, so we're technically not even cheating on our wife. Then Yelly's version of aftercare is stabbing us in the nads with a golden dagger to plunge us into the dream realm where we must fight to remember who we are. We wake up in a dark abyss, deep within our thoughts and memories.
This place is a dark abyss, deep within your thoughts and memories.
It's a repeat of the train scene from the beginning of the game, except now we can hear the inner thoughts of all the other characters as we run into them.
I hate traveling in this damn cursed forest. It's like walking over my own grave.
We learn that Lynn dropped out of school to go on this trip, and she's worried about her parents finding out. And the ballerina twins each kinda suck and think they'd be a bigger star without their sister holding them back. The EDM kids are all terrible people, and this is when we learn Jane was obsessed with getting piped down hard.
When I counsel these depressed, half-dead patients, all I can think of is how I want to be simply ravaged by them. Oh goodness. Maybe I'm the one who needs counseling.
To help your ass from bouncing off the walls when you get down some? Perhaps the most innocent soul on this train is the younger soldier who just wants to marry his sweetheart and start his carpet cleaning business.
Odessa's first mobile carpet cleaner.
Phone Douche was planning on embezzling from his company. Then all the way forward on the train, in the bloody car where Josh first saw Zombie Ernst kidnapping Kate.
I should have told him. I was just scared. But I love him, and I know he loves me. I need to tell him. Maybe he'll stop drinking when he finds out he's a father.
This is likely the official point where Josh figures out he's gonna be a dad. Then everybody we've met in the dream world so far has been static and unmoving, so it's freaky to spot Victor walking around in here with us and embracing our wife. He's startled by us, and then the dream transforms as he runs away. Now we're in a long, bloody hallway, still the same shape as a train, and with a few zombies to fight in each car. Between sections, Victor's nightmare finally reveals what happened between him and Mary.
Oh, Victor. Promise me nothing will ever happen to our baby. I couldn't bear it.
It's such a loving mother. How could our child be anything but perfect?
Chad, I'm starting to worry something happened to Mary's child.
You said the treatment wouldn't hurt him, but it did. You killed our baby, Victor.
I'm so sorry. I just wanted him to be perfect.
Victor, in his mad pursuit of biohacking, plied his operations on his own baby, killing it. And then it looks like he killed Mary too because he couldn't handle the shame she reminded him of.
Shut up! I did all I could! Stop blaming me! Dearest, I won't let you go. As long as I love you, you're alive to me. I will master my craft, perfect the dark art of raising the dead. I won't stop until I find a way to bring my Marie back.
Victor did go on to get pretty good at animating the recently dead, but after years of failure to resurrect Mary, he found the only way to bring her back was to become her.
Stupid man. Bring me my wig and dress.
This all leads to a showdown against Victor in the Dream Realm over the fate of Kate and our unborn child, whose life force, its Ojuvindo, Victor believes could resurrect Mary for realsies. Pay attention to what Victor says to start this fight.
While I take care of you in this world, I shall visit her in the other.
That is a real threat. We're on a deadline. Josh Victor is headed to kill Yelly in the waking world while we're tied up here. While we fight Mecha Victor, I've presented a few literary tropes and references that this game makes, chiefly Frankenstein. But there's one more book I'm strongly reminded of, a philosophical novel by Czech author Ladislav Klima called The Sufferings of Prince Sternenhawk. To super abbreviate, it explores the idea that suffering and depravity lead you to enlightenment. It's like a hyper-obscene Dostoevsky's Underground Man. In it, the titular prince takes pity on an ugly, poor, socially awkward girl named Helga, marrying her out of a sense of sacrifice and expecting her to worship him out of gratitude. But the princess quickly rises to her new circumstances, glows up, has a power trip, disrespects him, aborts their child, has affairs, and all around degrades the prince. So he kills her, and this all happens near the start of the book. The rest of the book is about how the prince is tormented by his guilt and goes insane. It's a fascinating read. There's a whole bit about turning himself into soup, and there's a poop sock, and many intensely witty lines, such as, "Once again, I looked the staircase over thoroughly, and even drove away the doves sitting on the ledge. Only a lunatic would have trusted them." The prince being, of course, very clearly a lunatic himself by the time he mentions that. Sufferings is not a popular book, so I'm not claiming that Rise of Nightmares actually borrowed from it, but the themes of losing his baby, killing his wife, then still being haunted by her as her ghost continues to belittle him, there are a lot of parallels. If you want a dark psychological novel full of potty humor, consider giving that one a read. Anyway, the boss fight's pretty straightforward, and after an intense dream world showdown with Victor, we deliver him a fatal stab in the gut to wake up and discover we've stabbed Yelly too in real life. Hold on, we stabbed Yelly? But that's Ernst's body there on the ground.
While I take care of you in this world, I shall visit her in the other.
So Victor steered Josh's body to come stab Yelly right as we take back control. Her ritual to return our body was a success, but it cost her everything. Josh vomits up the mind control slug and Victor melts away to nothing on the ground.
Joshua, you still have time. Your wife is at the ritual site. I can sense that Mary has not yet used Ojuvindo to resurrect. You can still get it back before Kate and your baby die. I can help you one last time. Azat will work again. Joshua, finish this.
Yelly gave us a second chance at life and a third chance at saving Kate, and in doing so dies alongside the high-mileage corpse of her beloved Ernst. A romantic ending for them both. Well, we're down to the final act. See? This game screams along after Act 3. There's one more tape to find explaining why Victor was torturing people and not just killing them outright. I guess before he realized he could just get this Ojuvindo life essence from a baby, he thought the best way to farm it was by causing the emotion of terror within people. These hundreds of people he chopped up were all for his wife. And they say romance is dead. Alright, go caress our wife on the ritual altar and get transported into another metaphysical realm which colors in more of the Victor-Mary drama.
All this is your fault.
How could you say that?
What do you expect? A compliment? My praise? My love? You've always disappointed me, Victor.
Now you're just being mean. I don't believe you. This is a lie. Lies!
Not excusing experimenting on his baby and murdering his wife, but it sounds like there was some animosity from Mary building up even before that.
If I don't hear that pitiful noise that comes from your ugly face...
Shut your mouth!
Oh, now the real Victor reveals himself, the famed doctor in his true colors.
For nothing before I found you. Nothing but a peasant.
But I loved you. This was all for you.
We are likely meant to draw some parallels between Josh and Kate's marriage and Victor and Mary's. We've seen both couples argue, each had a pending baby, each wife needs rescuing, but I'm not sure the connection goes very deep because Josh isn't hurting his family. It is possible they meant to develop Josh's alcoholism theme further and have Victor's mistreatments of Mary serve as an allegory, but they literally don't mention alcohol after Josh drops the flask in the intro, so that would be me giving the game credit it didn't earn. But like, surely they were going for that, right? Anyway, in this hypothetical post-ritual world, we finally meet actual Mary up close. That's not gonna happen, woman. Oh, Mary turned into a whole Toxapex. This is our final boss, and for better or worse, it's the only boss in the game who sucks to fight on a gameplay level. We have no weapon except Azoth, and the fight is chock full of quicktime events. You'll get in quite a workout against Mary. While she hurls insults about our masculinity, we have to dodge barrages of blue missiles and strikes from her tentacle ads, and it takes me quite a while to figure out how to damage her. Mary's body is immune, we can't just hurl Azoths at her, so it's clear we're fighting the tentacles, but it's not like hitting those is racking up damage either. It seems like what we have to do is successfully shoot 2 of her tentacles within a very short time window in order to get a chance to attack her body for real. The problem is, Azoth takes several seconds to charge a shot, and in the heat of having to dodge crap, I often had trouble getting it to fire correctly. Josh would put his arm down and say, "No thanks, I'm good," instead of letting it rip. So I got caught in a loop, killing tentacles for like 10 minutes, but rarely able to kill 2 at once, getting quite a workout as I poked and prodded and figured out how to damage Mary. My first development was getting better at avoiding Azoth misfires. Instead of aggressively throwing it like other projectile weapons, it was more consistent if I casually unbent my elbow like a football ref indicating first down. And by nailing 4, sometimes 5 quicktime events in a row during Mary's attack barrages in between tentacle fighting windows, you can get a head start charging Azoth and release a blast right as the new batch of tentacles becomes targetable. If you're really lucky, sometimes 2 tentacles even spawn close enough to each other to die in the same AoE blast. Killing 2 then gives you a chance to open up Mary's heart and blast her big, gross lower face. 3 or 4 of these face blasts is enough to win the fight. This is the only fight I definitely wouldn't enjoy playing at a higher difficulty level. I downplayed Mary's own attacks to yap about the tentacle stuff, but they get pretty extreme toward the end. It's actually her attacks that aren't quicktime events that were the most problematic, cause even with blocking, those were almost killing me on easy. Kinect movement just isn't responsive enough to outmaneuver those. I'm sure this whole ordeal has been pretty traumatizing for Kate, but on the upside, look. In all the madness, our baby got divinely teleported to life outside of her womb, sparing her childbirth and the difficult later months of pregnancy. Stonks? It did take me a second to figure out how to comfort my baby, though. Petting its chest was not the right answer. Listen, I'm better with animals. And that was Rise of Nightmares? Wait, ain't no way. There's got to be a post-credits scene. Did Josh even rescue Kate? We're on a train again, a rescheduled vacation, and never mind, I guess the baby isn't born yet. It must only be a month or 2 later.
Oh, excuse me.
Oh, that can only be Marcosius, bandaged up how he is from the burns that Jane inflicted. And he's got 3 more little soul bugs ready to go. One's probably Victor, and one might be for him, since that crispy body can't feel very good. And the third one, who knows? Believe it or not, the world never got a Rise of Nightmares sequel. Okay, that was Rise of Nightmares, the M-rated Kinect horror game that was way better than it had any right to be. Is the gameplay scuffed? Sure. Walking feels bad, there's kind of only one enemy, and I think I gave my shoulder a repetitive stress injury by filming this all in one day. But I love games that make good use of their medium, and it's my opinion that Rise of Nightmares proved horror is a great match for the Kinect. This game had me plunging my hand into the wet organs of a fresh torso to hunt for a key, reaching into a toilet of blood to hunt for a key, and swiping leeches off my arms. Those events were all nasty, and absolutely more so because they made me use my actual hands to do them through the Kinect hardware. And this comment isn't even horror specific, but first-person action boss fights needing me to duck and sidestep attacks were a lot of fun to do on the Kinect. Every set-piece moment, every truly Kinect-y bit in this game works really well, and I was impressed with how well my movements got registered. It only sucks that the most common action, basic movement and turning, was so sketchy. If you're going to try to brave this game, I would recommend placing a thick book or two in front of yourself to rest your foot on during forward motion. That little bit of extra height and bend in your knee should help your walk motion get picked up better without having to balance on one foot like I did. But that still won't fix everything. The game can still be slow at stopping your movement once you take that leg back, and it always wanted to think I was rotating just slightly in either direction, even as I did my best to stay square on and still. Sadly, this unresponsiveness discouraged me from doing anything creative in combat that required repositioning, like going for environmental kills or even just guiding the fight to a choke point in a doorway, but worse, it made avoiding trap deaths absolutely miserable. I'm actually shocked that playing on easy didn't slow down the saw blades in Chapter 3 or the tempo of the floor spikes or give me additional time on quicktime events. The difficulty setting only affects the combat difficulty, and it's not like I'm proud that I first tried every boss in the game. What Rise of Nightmares really needed was a way to independently keep the combat difficulty normal, but greatly reduce the difficulty of every environmental hazard. How about that writing, though? I think I've made my point by now about this game feeling like a Gothic horror novel, but the story is also surprisingly poignant for a Kinect game full of double D nurses. The tragic reveal of Yelly and Ernst's romance ending with her sacrifice, Josh rising to the challenge and braving the horrors to save his wife, and at the risk of defending the bad guy too much, even Victor had a tragic backstory that formed him into the monster we perceive. Then factor in the plot twist of Josh being Ernst during the prologue cutscene, unwittingly being the one who scares Aaron and Katya into their bloody trap, and realizing that the prologue we played was actually a flash forward and the whole gross scene was straight out of a 2000s slasher flick. I love it. Rise of Nightmares is in fact way better than it had any right to be. Can I get a bring back Kinect in the chat? Hey, thank you for watching, and thanks as always to my kind patrons for supporting the channel. Your support allows me to cover strange old games like this one. I had promised more boat-themed horror games in my last video, and I did try my best to get one running, but I ran into some expensive hardware issues. But if you want to get notified when I sort that out, or post further obscure horror gaming videos in general, you should consider subscribing to the channel and toggling the bell to receive notifications. I've got loads more crusty lost horror games to share with y'all, and that will make sure you're the first one to catch when a new video comes out. We've got a friendly Discord linked below if that's something you're into, but otherwise I'll see you in the next video. Mothy out.
Baby, we gotta go.